starting it up.
Greetings, Miles Ahead crew. It is super awesome to be here with you on our fourth Thursday of the month of August. It is time for us to do our Ed Talks, and I have the honor to talk to you about all things Miles Ahead Charter School. As you know, we were officially approved by the State Commission for Charter Schools of Georgia in April of 2021. And so we have been since that day preparing to open for fall 2022, which is exactly less than 12 months away. So we are actively looking for a building, recruiting students, finding teachers, everything that we need to function the school. And I'm here tonight to tell you about the model that we're going to be offering, our academic program, our schedule, how we run the school, talk a little bit about the board, and give you an opportunity to ask me, the school principal, any questions that you have whatsoever about Miles Ahead. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump into it. And just again, real quick introduction. My name is Kolt Bloxson. I'm the founding principal as one of the lead founders of Miles Ahead Charter School. And like some of you coming tonight, I am a resident of South Cobb. I live in Austell with the love of my life, my son, and all of our many pets. Being here, we wanted to create another option for education because, well, friends, let's face it, not everything is for everybody. And we wanted to provide an option for families and schools that didn't draw from their local options. So we decided to apply for the State Commission of Schools. What that allows us to do is to recruit and provide a statewide attendance zone school. So no matter if you live in Austell, Smyrna, Mableton, Marietta, Atlanta, you can still attend Miles Ahead Charter School. We are fully funded by the state, which also means that we do not receive any local tax dollars. So your tax dollars still go to support your local schools, which is something that's critically important to me, a local tax resident, as well as the number of board members who also live in our community. So by the creation and founding of Miles Ahead, we've given you just one more option for a public tuition-free K-8 education for your child. And I'm here to talk to you a little bit about that and what that means. So without further ado, let's just talk about a mission. So in 2019, starting in October, we held listening sessions and we just wanted to see kind of what the pulse of the community was. They offered things such as understanding financial literacy, having solid ethics, being contributing members of society. We just wanted to see what the people of South Cobb wanted from their schools. And so as a collective, one of the first missions that we created is this mission that you see in front of us today. And that mission is that Miles Ahead Charter will be a K-8 school focused on student growth and academic achievement through a whole child approach to education. Our mission is to provide all students with the social and academic skills necessary to help them realize their potential for local impact and global change. So more specifically, let's talk about what some of those buzzwords mean. So student growth and academic achievement, right? We didn't want to create a school that's just focused on state standards. Everybody could come in 2 grade levels above or 2 grade levels below their grade level. Does that mean that they're not getting what they need? Should teachers only be teaching to the middle? Or should students be getting what's called individualized instruction? So we built into our mission, not just the teaching of standards, but also that all children on a daily basis get that individualized attention, no matter who you are or what you are. We call that Power Hour at Miles Ahead, where for 60 minutes, you get to work with your advisor teacher at that time in an area of interest and need specifically for you. And again, that's for all of our children. Another section that you see there is a whole child approach to education. One of the really big collective responses from our group in our early listening sessions was that we wanted our students to really come out as happy people, right? No one likes a smart jerk, right? People like working with people who are good to get along with, who are nice, who are friendly, and have that strong set of skills. And so you have to teach that. You have to teach children how to collaborate, how to have compassion, how to have empathy. We call that social emotional learning, but we also call it a whole child approach. Our day starts and ends with what's called crew. It's our community time where our children can set goals for themselves and then reflect on how their day went. It's also the opportunity for us at Miles Ahead to focus on what we call our high five habits. Those are the habits and the characteristics for what it means to truly be successful. And again, as a collective, we selected exactly what those high five habits were: respect, determination, all those things that exemplify the type of people who you would want to work with. And then, of course, the social and academic skills necessary shows up again because we want our students again to recognize that you've got to be well balanced. You don't want to just be focused on academics, you have to focus on that whole child. And finally, that local impact and global change because we want that real world connection. Children don't learn in vacuums, and you don't work in a vacuum. And in fact, you do work and you learn work best when you understand what it's connected to. So if you're learning about frogs and have the opportunity to put QR codes in your local neighborhood or park about the frogs in your local area, that's connected. That's real world instruction. That's what we hope to do at Miles Ahead. So that's just a little bit more of a breakdown of our mission. If we keep going, just again, a little bit more background on us. On April 28, 2021, we were unanimously approved by the board of the SCSC to open, and we are super excited about that. We also got some really nice accolades for the group of our board. Our board is currently comprised of 10 wonderful, amazing individuals that live in our community and represent a variety of fields, ranging from nonprofit governance to being regional directors for General Motors, to educators, lawyers, pharmacists, everything and in between. They're amazing people, and I hope they get to know you and you get to know them. Here's a quick little snippet of a video that a friend made for us here at Miles Ahead, just to kind of get the juices flowing a little bit. Awesome sauce. And thank you, Aisha, for making that for us. It's a huge help. Some of the things you saw in there, I want to talk a little bit more about right now, right? So you probably saw things such as STEM, coding, 21st century environment, EL education. So what we want to do today is lift some of that and create a space for you to ask me questions about what that means. So I'll give you again a little bit more of the background of the school and why we selected some of those things in our academic design. So first and foremost, what is a charter school, right? That may be something that you have heard about, maybe something you haven't heard about, but I do want to kind of set a little bit of a precedent to talk about what charter schools are and the type of charter school that we are. So charter schools are public options, tend to be either locally authorized or state authorized, that allow for a different educational option at a public setting, meaning that you typically don't have to pay tuition, you don't have to pay fees, but that you are another locally approved school to provide, again, another option for families. Typically, you see a little bit more innovation and flexibility with schools because they say, hey, we have this idea to try educating your children. We want to try it out. We want to see how it goes. And the authorizer says, let's give it a shot. Charter schools have not only the same type of regulations and the same type of high quality bar that they have to raise, but a lot of times it's actually higher because if you can't outperform your local schools, why have the charter school? So Miles Ahead is what's called an SCSC, a state commission charter school. We are here in that we have to not just compete, but outcompete our local schools. Or again, why else have Miles Ahead Charter School? And because we're an SCSC approved school, not only are we going to be evaluated based on our CCRPI score, but we are also evaluated in terms of our financial sustainability, our operational components, everything in between. That's used on what's called a comprehensive performance framework. And we have to perform or else they'll close us down. And we also, in the petitioning phase, had to demonstrate how we were going to do that. And even in this opening year, we have to take courses, pass tests, show evidence that we can operate at a high quality level. And we're super excited to be doing so. So again, what is a charter school? It's just another public option. And for us at Miles Ahead, we are a nonprofit organization that's running a charter school for the families of Georgia. And so when we look at South Cobb, when we look at Cobb just in general, we really noticed some trends in what we call the West Metro Atlanta corridor. We saw a lot of families shifting from Atlanta to Smyrna, Mableton, Austell, all the way to Douglas County. Families would start in Atlanta, end up in Mableton, start in Smyrna, end up in Marietta. And with every time families shift, your child's education is disrupted. If you go from Atlanta to Smyrna, you're not only in a new city, you're in a new county, you're in a new school district. Same thing if you move from Marietta to Austell. So those shifts can cause huge disruptions in students' academic careers. And we wanted to create an option that provided more stability. Hence why we applied for an SCSC charter. So we're looking at what we call our 4 zones along that Veterans Memorial Corridor, going from Powder Springs to Atlanta. That's where we're seeing a number of our early applications are coming from those 4 target areas. And we are awesomely excited about all of that. That doesn't mean that you have to live in those areas. That's just where most of them are coming from. So can you be at Marietta and apply? Absolutely. Can you be in the city of South Fulton and apply? Absolutely. Can you be in Roswell and apply? Absolutely. We are a statewide commission school, which means that all you need is a Georgia address. Go to our website and you can apply to attend Miles Ahead. Now, I'll definitely encourage you to apply earlier rather than later, because we will have a lottery and let you know whether or not your application was admitted or if it was waitlisted. But if you apply early, I promise you, good things will most likely happen. So go ahead, fill it out, and then we'll stay in contact.
Hi, Colt. This is Erica. I just have a couple of questions that are coming in through the chat, if you don't mind.
Sure. Go ahead, Erica.
All right. So, first question, can we talk about the testing standards and how the school may be impacted by that?
Great. So as far as testing, remember that we are a Georgia commission school. So we do have to teach the Georgia standards of excellence. So the same thing that you would get in your local Cobb County schools, we have to teach those standards, and we are still assessed on what's called CCRPI. So we will also get a CCRPI score. The thing about being a charter school is not only do we have to compete with our local schools, but we have to out compete. So if they get a 72, we have to at least get a 73. So we have to perform better. So for us, our state standards are still our standards. We teach those. What we do get flexibility on is the way that our day is shaped and how we can instruct in those standards. And if you'll let me kind of flash forward a bit and kind of show you a little bit of our master schedule as well as our instructional design. Typically, when you think of schools, you think, okay, you show up, you go to reading, then you have math, then you go to lunch, recess, science, and social studies. What we know on developmental research for children is that that's just too much, right? It's too much for the kids and it's too much for teachers. We took a lot of that transition time out and built in what we called a deeper learning framework. So that way teachers and students only have 2 content areas plus power hour a day to really help them get those juices flowing and focus and do a lot more learning in those areas. It also allows us to have what's called cross-disciplinary learning. We use EL education, which provides social studies and science, math and literature, all of those hybrid topics that you typically do in a natural setting versus teaching in compartments. So by doing that, we actually can get 2 content areas in one, teaching those same standards and maximizing your child's instructional time. And studies show that that works not just for students, but even in teacher development. So that way teachers are less stressed out and students are learning a lot more content in honest, deeper settings. Hopefully that answers your question a bit more.
Awesome. So, the slide you are on now actually goes to my second question.
Great.
Will there be any opportunities for children to learn a second language at Miles Ahead?
Great question. Yes. So we have actually identified our second language as coding, right? We truly believe that in order to teach digital natives, we want them to have a language that's going to equip them for long-term success. And so we said coding should be that language, right? When you look at the 21st century skills, careers, and opportunities that your children will have when they matriculate from high school, the language of computers is definitely going to be there. While it may not necessarily be a spoken language, it's definitely a language that we want our children to acquire. Now, later on down the line, our hopes and our goals are to include a spoken language in addition to coding. But for right now, our first second language is going to be coding.
Okay, thank you, Colt. Those are all the questions for right now.
Awesome sauce. So if we scooch back just a bit, and we talk a little bit more again about our foundations, we actually saw, based upon the Cobb Community Foundation's early needs assessment, that serious educational options were needed in our community. And we couldn't just sit by and watch, right? We know that educational opportunities connect to success in terms of wealth, health, and everything else. So we said if we can create a K-8 school, provide the wraparound services and consistency for families, maybe we can start to address some of the concerns within our local areas. So that's what we did. And with that, we've been able to establish some really good early partnerships with both Good Samaritan, Radical Scholars, and some local businesses to really start to increase that. If this is something you're interested in, please reach out to us because we are constantly and always looking for great partners in this process. So now I'm going to talk a little bit more about our academic design and why we chose some of these structures. So like I mentioned, we know two things. Number one, that we're teaching digital natives. Kids are almost born knowing how to play with phones and iPads, and to not understand that about them would be a disservice. And second, understanding what it means to teach digital natives, kids who are always plugged in, who are always active, and who are always moving. It's just how their brains are working. And so to say, sit down in this desk, do paper and pencil is just maybe not effective for them, right? Like I said, everything ain't for everybody. So here's another option for your kids where if you think this is for them, come on over to Miles Ahead. So we look at a few things: what's developmentally appropriate for them, what works in terms of teacher development, training, and capacity, and how to plan long term. And so we've created, like we mentioned, a deeper learning structure. That deeper learning structure includes maximizing instructional time. So each day, students get more than 2.5 hours of ELA, 90 minutes of mathematics, 90 minutes of science and social studies per week, even though it's embedded across ELA and mathematics. Remember, our EL expedition modules embed our primary science and social studies content areas to provide a cross-disciplinary instruction. So as students are reading books about frogs, they're also understanding the life cycle of a frog. So they're getting in the standards for reading as well as science, all within that nice, rich lesson. Second, we also have no more than 2 content areas a day plus power hour. So again, we're able to get that standards-based instruction as well as that individualized instruction for every child every day. We also have, and this is something really exciting, what we call Expedition Day. For 1 day a week, our students come out of that traditional setting for academics and they go into Expedition Day. Now, on special days, this would be the opportunity for them to take trips or meet visitors coming into the school or really get to do the hands-on labs. So they would rotate through science, social studies, coding, and then their performing arts. It would also be the opportunity for them to complete any projects, to complete labs, to go to makerspace, or to go to our STEM room. This is really their time to come out of the classroom and really apply what they're learning. It's also the time for our teachers to get back into planning, rehearse their instruction, and really make sure that they're looking at the data and communicating with families. This ensures that our teachers actually have more than 10 hours when we look at that schedule, 10 hours of planning each week, if you look at both Expedition Day as well as their typical days off. So it creates a lot of opportunities for teachers to create really rich instruction. And then, of course, we have over 60 minutes a day of community-based SEL instruction, where teachers are really guiding our students in the establishment of those high five habits, setting goals, and then reflecting on their day, because that's what it takes to really acquire that whole child perspective. So those are the things that really feed in to what this would be, our sample schedule. Again, when we did some of those kind of initial meetings, we heard a few things from families and we heard a few things from teachers. Number one, please don't make the day longer for my baby, right? They're kind of used to charter schools kind of going until 4 o'clock or 4:30 and just felt it was just too long of a day for young children. Heard you loud and clear. We got it all in by 3 o'clock. Second, they wanted to make sure that transition time and downtime wasn't just wasted instructional time. Heard you loud and clear. With this master schedule, we reduced the large amounts of transition time that you see in the day, and we maximized instructional time. So can teachers still take breaks during that big ELA block? Of course they can, but at least students are still in ELA and can still work with children, right? And second, this master schedule allows for our support teachers to push in at the same time. So your gifted instruction, ESOL, special education are all in the same schedule. So that way it's not, I have to go to this class and this class and just make it super crazy. All of those teachers can go into one classroom at the same time. So that the vision for instruction at Miles Ahead is that when you walk into a classroom and you see the number of teachers, you should not be able to pick out the students who need additional support, the students who are getting extended support, or anything else. They're all in one happy learning environment.
All right, cool. Well, that's really awesome. Have a few questions coming into the chat, so I want to stop you for just a second.
Sure.
All right, so speaking of teachers, how are you selecting teachers? What credentials do you expect them to have? Are there going to be any gifted or talent teachers?
Oh, yes, please. If you are certified, gifted, certified ESOL, definitely apply. The same application that you apply to any school, we would be applying here. We're going to be opening up that application probably in October, but feel free to send any emails of interest to info@gmail.com. That puts you on our mailing list so that way we can send you what we're interested in, but absolutely. Here's a caveat. We are starting with grades kindergarten through third. Eventually we will get through K-8. So just think about, well, do I want to start at this school that's brand new with these grades, right? So definitely make sure you let us know if you do have those additional certifications. Always looking for really quality special education teachers, ESOL, and gifted teachers. It's huge. And just so that way you know too, take a picture of this master schedule, and then we can even talk about what a support teacher schedule looks like, because they also would get 1 day a week for that planning time, and they also wouldn't teach more than 2 content areas a day. Great question.
Awesome. So just to follow up, what credentials are you looking for in your teachers and what's the process to select them?
Sure. So credentials, you would obviously send us your PSC certificate, right? So we would definitely look to see to make sure that you've got that P5 certification. And if you don't, we would look to make sure that you have that clearance certificate that lets us know that you've passed the background check. We definitely are also looking at a couple of other things. If you do have that gifted cert, if you have maybe, let's say, a math or a reading science cert, those are always great things. And let us know too, if you're multilingual, if you have experience in certain areas, maybe you ran the STEM club, right? Maybe you ran your Girl Scouts. Those are all things that as a new school, we would say, oh, wow, Miss Smith can do that. She's got experience. Let's take a look at that. When it comes to the selection of our teachers, great question. And I'm going to give you a little trick here. We're looking first at personality and mindset. We're a brand new school, right? I mean, brand spanking new. So we're looking for individuals who want to be trailblazers with us, who have that pioneering spirit. So when you come into the application process, that's something that we're going to be reviewing is what are some initiatives that you started and you've taken, right? What are some things that you piloted or did without having to be told to do? So we're looking for educators who really want to be that founding teacher with us and who want to grow with us as well. That's really what it's going to take. And I give this analogy to kind of help you remember. Let's say you walk into your classroom and the desk is wobbly. Are you the teacher that's going to write a work ticket and wait for someone to fix it? Or are you the teacher that's going to fix it and then let everybody know, hey, y'all, I had a wobbly desk or table. Let me know if you have one and I'll help you fix it too. All right. Hopefully that helps.
Love that analogy. What is the student to teacher ratio at Miles Ahead?
Great question. So in crew time, right, it'll kind of be going throughout the day. So in crew time, we've got about 1 to 25, but again, that's our maximum. So it really depends upon how many students we get. So at most, 1 to 25 students. But then during what you call your ELA blocks and our math blocks, that's when our support teachers push in. So knowing that our classrooms are going to be hybrid with support teachers, it could be reduced to, let's say if the gifted teacher pushes in, 1 to 13. Let's say the gifted and the ESOL teacher pushes in, it could reduce even further. So really it depends upon a couple of things. A, the number of support students that you have in your classroom, and B, the block. So At most 1 to 25, but it could get down to really about 1 to 8 or 1 to 10.
Okay, let's jump into some questions about breakfast and lunch at Miles Ahead.
Ooh, I love food.
Is breakfast and lunch, are they going to be free at Miles Ahead? Will the school be participating in any special food programs that incorporates healthy food options for the students?
Such great questions. So yes, obviously, if we are working with a whole child approach, we want our students to understand what it means to be healthy, happy individuals. And that starts with our food program. So starting with breakfast and lunch, we do hope as a new school to apply for the National School Lunch Program. That actually helps us help our children make those healthy choices. So that way we can ensure that they're making really, really good decisions while eating. We're going to also ask families who choose to bring lunch in with their students to really have conversations with them about what they're bringing, or at least allow our teachers to talk to them about, well, let's have a swap opportunity between your Dorito chips and maybe some apple chips. So that's definitely something that we will have. Yes, we will provide free and reduced cost lunch and breakfast for our students, as well as a nice healthy snack. We are in the process of completing what's called an RFP for those lunch vendors. We are looking for vendors, if you're out there, that can provide those options based on both not just typical lunch, but also vegetarian, vegan, and halal meals.
Awesome. And this is the last question from the chat right now.
Sure.
Does the school follow a normal school year calendar or does it have a year-round approach?
Oh, that's such a great question. And one of our board members, Ashley Lee, hopefully she's on here. She's leading currently our academic committee. Our academic committee is comprised of a number of educators, and we're discussing just that. When we originally applied to the SCSC, we would have what I would call a traditional calendar. We had built in some technology days, we built in some professional learning days, just because we felt that's where things are going. But then, bam, COVID hit and it changed the game. So we want to look at schedules where we're doing a couple of things. Looking at the breaks that teachers would need. So looking at maybe a 2 or 3 day break every 6 weeks, looking at the type of learning that maximize student instruction. So whether that's either ending in May or going year round, those are things that are actually still up for debate. So what I would invite that person to do is come to our meetings and lift up some of those ideas and questions, simply because everything that you see here from Miles Ahead, we did with community input. And that's one of the things that we're super proud about. So we are still drafting it and it is not finalized. However, what I can promise you though, is that starting every summer, we have always offered what we call STEM Fridays for our families. So that way our students know that education doesn't just happen 10 months out of the year. So no matter if it is just a typical traditional calendar, we would still offer things like a summer programming, STEM Fridays, which we've been able to provide for free for families and keep all of that learning going throughout the year.
Great. Thanks, Colt.
Yeah, these are awesome questions. I love it. All right, and now I lost my place. But I think we were kind of just wrapping up talking about some of the innovation and some of the ideas at Miles Ahead. And again, I just want to reiterate that all of these ideas and suggestions came from a lot of our community members, a lot of our what we call our early supporters and our early adopters. If I could go forward a bit, that we got feedback from over 100 community members, 20 educators, 50 students, and 5 local business groups. So it's not just me writing down these ideas. These are people who are informing us about what they would like to see in our school. And we encourage all of you who are watching or who will watch to do the same. Come to any of our public board meetings, any of our subcommittee meetings, and lift up those ideas. We also, myself and a number of other board members, are also supported by other charter networks, as well as other organizations such as EL Education, High Tech High, and GCSA, the Georgia Charter Schools Association, who definitely have helped shape this way for us. We also completed a needs assessment in the South Cobb area in 2019. So we specifically looked at what gaps there are and we tried to fill those gaps. For example, what K-8 public tuition-free option do families have? And how far would they have to go to get there? Can we fill this gap? And we thought we could. And so let me get a little braggadocious here about some board members. So here are some of our board members. We actually have more board members whose pictures did not make it. Amber Deal, who is the chair of our marketing, as well as Tiffany Macklin, who is on our finance committee. She's actually our new treasurer. But to talk a little bit more about our board, they have experience in nonprofit governance, project management, education, business administration, family law, financial management, and so much more. They're also amazing parents, grandparents, they're cheer moms, they're basketball dads, they're just everything in between. Some really cool highlights of our board is that they've managed budgets of upwards of $10 million. Between them, they have collectively started and run over 20 successful businesses. More than half of them have attended HBCUs. I also think if I do a quick count, 1, 2, 3, I think about more than half of our women are all Deltas, and they're all super excited and eager to serve. We have a wonderful board, and I just can't say enough about them and their individual accomplishments before joining the board and even during. They've helped us get past the SCSC authorization, and they're helping us actively open our doors. So if you see them wearing their Miles Ahead shirts out in the streets, like you probably just saw Tiffany and Milton this past weekend, if you were on the Silver Comet Trail, be sure to give them a wave and talk to them a little bit about Miles Ahead.
Hey, Colt, want to interject? Just have 2 quick questions in the chat for you.
Yeah.
All right. 1, will you offer an after-school program at Miles Ahead?
Great question. So that's definitely something that we are looking into, as we know that our children need places to go after school. So we definitely want to provide that after school opportunity. What we would probably do is hire either a part-time organization or hire someone on behalf of Miles Ahead, the nonprofit, to run that. But that's definitely something we are strongly considering.
And then the second question, I've read a lot of research that supports the benefits of kids learning and spending time outside. I see there's 30 minutes for recess. Are there other opportunities for kids to be outside, especially in the wake of COVID?
Oh, yes, especially in the wake of COVID. So one of the things right here that you see with these big long blocks is I really want us to unpack what we think of in terms of traditional instruction, right? When we think of ELA, we tend to think of pencil, paper, and desk. That doesn't have to just happen there. Students can go outside. Teachers can take their classes outside. They can move anywhere they want to with that block of time. Same thing down here with math. Power hour and dear time can absolutely happen outside. We have that flexibility and we'll give our teachers that autonomy and encourage it. Absolutely not a problem. You also see right here, in addition to recess, with that expedition day, that should be hands-on outside, live your best life, kids, let's go all in. So one of the definite things that I know as both an educator and a mom is that kids learn naturally through play. And so in order to make that happen, we have to create that space. So for sure and for certain is the answer to that question. And call us out if you don't see it happening.
Awesome. Those are all the questions right now.
Sounds good. I did kind of want to spend some time here too. I think I kind of breezed past it with our high five habits. Remember, we said that we want to create those healthy, happy, whole people, right? School is not just a place where you focus on academics. It has to be a place where you learn how to be a really good person, right? If you think about the people who you work with today, you're probably not concerned about what they got in their 5th grade standardized test scores. Probably don't care about what they got in their SATs. You most likely care about the fact if they're hardworking, they know their job, and if they're kind, right? If they're good collaborators. And so that has to show up in schools too. It can't just be all about a test. It can't just be all about a standards. It's got to be about the person. And so at Miles Ahead, we're focused on the person. We're focused on the child. We're focused at the start of the day, the end of the day, and for a little sliver of time in the middle of the day too, making sure that students know how to communicate their needs, know how to set ambitious goals, know how to keep track of themselves. And we call those our high five habits, where teachers can communicate to our children about their growth and students can learn to self-reflect about kindness, about courage, and all of those good things. So again, those are just some quick little snippets of what makes Miles Ahead different. that we're going to have this backdrop of a 21st century learning environment, coding, learning from field experts, having science labs, right? Getting that hands-on experience is critical to helping those digital natives succeed. We also have developed a master calendar that allows for not just that type of learning and instruction, but also preparation for our teachers. And we're looking for educators who really do want to be deeper in terms of their understanding of their content knowledge. And so if we just kind of look futuristically for miles ahead, in that first year, our goal is to have 208 students. And just between us, get your enrollments in now. They're definitely a hot commodity. Our biggest grade will be in kindergarten, where we'll have those 4 classes. We'll have multiple classes, only 2 in first grade, 1 in second, and 1 in third. So if you're looking for that space in second or third, I highly encourage you to complete that information now. And we're going to continuously add a grade until we scale up to 8th. Year 6, it got cut off right here, but if you could imagine it, you basically would have that class of 26 right up there by 8. And I think we did that. So with that being said, are there any additional questions that anyone has for me or just miles ahead in general?
Yes, Colt. So speaking about the enrollment process or enrollment in general, can you tell us a little bit more about the enrollment process? Is there going to be a lottery?
Great question. So right now we are accepting what are called applications. If you go to our website, it says enroll. And so we're going to ask you basically certain information that you're the parent or the guardian of who you're enrolling, what your child's or scholar's current age is, so their birth date, current grade, and in fall 2022, what grade they would be in. That's, oh, and your address, right? You got to make sure it's a Georgia address. We're not going to ask you anything else. We're not going to ask you for immunizations or anything like that. So we're just going to collect that information for you, and we're going to keep that to say thank you so much for completing that application. Come around late January, you're going to start to see some advertisements about our lottery. What the lottery does is it says, let's take all the application that you've had for this one particular grade and let's make it equitable. So that way we can have the number of spaces for the number of students. We'll let you know 2 things. Number 1, if your application was accepted, you are now enrolled. Hoorah! Or B, if you got waitlisted. That's okay though, right? If you do get that information about our lottery that you got accepted and to enroll, you would then start the full enrollment process. So you would send us the gas bill, you'd fill out the birth certificate, you'd upload all of that stuff into our system so that way we can secure your enrollment. And that's going to be really critical for us because it being our first year, we want to make sure we lock in those particular numbers. And if we choose to offer, when we choose to offer transportation, we have the range of addresses that we'll need to have in order to make a bus operate. So when you get that enrollment information, please make sure you let us know if you need support with that system, but that would be step 2. If you're waitlisted, we would let you know like, oh, the space came available, fill this out, you'd fill it out and we're good to go. So that process would go between February through the end of May. And if you still didn't make it, still keep your eyes out, still fill out the enrollment forms. You never know, things happen.
All right. So I think our number one question, Colt, that you and I hear all the time. Can you tell us more about the facility? Where are you guys going to be located? Can you talk about what the building will look like? Will it be high tech, elective room, outdoor spaces? Tell us more about that.
Oh, let's have some fun. So one of the great things about having a brand new school is that you can do a lot of that like canvas painting. We can say, and we're going to have this maker space, and we're going to have this STEM lab, and we're going to have this. So we do get to kind of pick that, but friends, it is expensive. So we are currently looking at sites right now. Our top site is, I would say, in a more public area, but public meaning accessible, meaning that people can see it, people can access it. It has multiple entry points. So that's the most I can say right there. I can't give you the exact address just yet, but hopefully I can in the very near future. The second thing about that is that we are actively seeking funding to make some of those vision things happening. So if we want to have that media center, we're going to actively find out ways to create it. as a new school, we do get access to some funds, but not a whole bunch. So what we want to start with our doors open is going to be great. But what's going to really be great is how our school changes over time. So come years 2 or 3, we have what's called a phased approach with our building. So while we may just be having enough space for those first classrooms, years 2 and years 3, we're going to continue that build out because our direct pockets connect to the number of students that we have. So we don't want to overcast our projections. We want to do it with some fiscal responsibility, but we do want to make sure we have what we can say we deliver. So classrooms, yes. Cafeteria, yes. STEM lab, makerspace, media center, those are what you're going to see at Miles Ahead. And then as we continue to grow, you should see it both scale up with the number of students that we have, as well as the age that we're planning to accommodate.
Okay. And another question is, my daughter starts kindergarten in 2023. Should I do the pre-enrollment now or wait until next fall?
Great question. You can do it now. I mean, or you can wait until next fall. My suggestion would be to wait until next fall. If you do it now, what we would do with that data is we would keep your address, keep your information, continue to send you blasts. So when we do things, I don't want to spill any beans, but when we do things like International Day of the Girl next month, you know about all the happenings and goings ons of Miles Ahead. So when we do STEM Fridays and you want to enroll her, you have access to that. So there are benefits for filling out that information and joining our community early versus waiting until next year. So I would do it, but obviously she couldn't start until fall 2023.
And you mentioned that the school is opening K through 3 the first year. I have a rising second grader and a rising fourth grader. Will both of my kids be able to attend?
Another great question. Give me 1 second to sneeze. Oh, thought it was coming. So what we're doing right now is we actually have a number of families who are interested in fourth grade. So fill it out. You'll see a question, I think, in the form online that does ask if you are interested in fourth grade. What we're looking at as a collective, as a board, and as a team is, do we have the numbers in fourth grade to open a fourth grade? Right now, we do not. However, that may change if individuals such as yourself or other families you know with the rising fourth grader fill that out. That's something that our board would have to look at and make a decision on. Because as we know, we are looking at a certain number of classrooms currently, but that could change. So I definitely would highly encourage you to fill it out, give us that data point, and let us make that decision, and we'll keep you posted.
All right. Have the security protocols been finalized?
Ooh, good question. Security for, I think the mom and me and Erica, the moderator, whenever we look at a building, we're constantly just like, okay, yep, it's like security here, security there, security there. So we definitely know that security is of utmost importance. And there's actually several grants out there that allow schools to enhance the security in their buildings. So while I won't say security is finalized today, it's on the top of our list, and it's something that our funders as well as grantees are looking at actively. We obviously would not put our children in harm's way, and we would want an absolutely safe place for our children.
Absolutely. And just to add to Colt's response, we are fortunate to be working with the architect to help us build out the facility. And as Colt said, we are both moms. We both have beautiful children, just like you all do. And our first and foremost concern is their safety. So our architect has built schools around the metro Atlanta area as well as other places. And that is also on the forefront of his mind. So we will have that continued conversation as we go.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that.
And I think this might be the last question, but you mentioned about bus transportation. What does that look like for Miles Ahead, especially in year one? Will that be offered to all students?
Oh, these are great questions. So two things with the transportation. So transportation for a charter school looks a little different from a traditional school. So traditional buses usually stop at every street and pick up the kids on each street. Because Miles Ahead has a statewide attendance zone, we have to do what are called satellite stops. So we may stop at a Walmart or a Publix, someplace that allows our bus to kind of turn around and where a collective of families could meet. So we're looking at satellite stops. However, in order for us to offer equitable transportation routes, we need two things. Number one, if you're interested, please fill out that form. It lets us know and look at where the draw of our families is coming from. And then number two, when we fill out after the lottery, when we fill out the enrollment and you let us know that you need a bus, we're going to have another lottery for the bus. We're anticipating probably about 70 or so seats for the bus, which everybody may need. If there's 100 people who need the bus, but only 70 seats, we're going to have a lottery based on location, based on sibling preference. So if there's like 3 of you guys coming from one place, and all of those things. So that way we can provide an equitable option to get to miles ahead.
Awesome. So this will be our final question for the evening.
Okay.
All of the stuff we've heard about Miles Ahead tonight sounds amazing, especially STEM focus, K through 3. It's a new charter school coming to the South Cobb area. All of this sounds great. How much is it going to be for my child to attend first year or each year?
FREE. It is free for your baby to attend Miles Ahead Charter School. We are a public tuition-free school, and we would have it no other way except that.
All right, Colt. Well, thank you. Those are all the questions that we have.
Awesome sauce. Well, everybody, I encourage you to follow us. Make sure that you have gone to the website and filled out either your enrollment form, join our community, follow us both on Twitter, Instagram. You can follow us on Facebook. You all know how to get there if you joined our live today. Woohoo! And we also have our own YouTube channel. You can go to YouTube, Miles Ahead Charter School. You can subscribe to that to have access to not just this video, but our previous our previous EdTalks, as well as another Atlanta conversation that I was also a part of.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Have a great evening, and we hope to see you all soon.
Thank you. Have a good night.